Hi everybody, this is Andrew Watt, and this is a video talking about how to use geometry to memorize and understand the planetary pentacles. What I have here is a circle, and many, not all, but many of the Solomonic pentacles are arranged in such a way that you can memorize them and their functions based on what geometry problem they're under. So there is a geometry process for calculating an octagon fitting inside of a circle. And I've got a straight edge, which happens to be a ruler, but I have a straight edge, and I've put this line through the center of this circle. I didn't do a very good job of marking my center, so I'm going to do that now. And that'll make it a little easier for me to find it. In any case, I've put my line through the center, and there's a procedure for marking out where the line is that passes at a right angle to the center, through the center, in fact, and it means going to the places where the circle and the line intersect, and then arcing from opposite ends of that line like this, and then this line passing through the center like this is automatically at a right angle. So we've got this mathematical process for finding a square, for example, and then that means that if I draw from here to here, and here to here, and so on, here to here, and then here to here, I've got a square, because all of these are going to wind up being precise against the circle. Ta-da! But in the case of the pentacles I'm going to show you in a moment, I don't need that. What I really need is the ability to draw an octagon, because I have every pentacle has a position. What am I trying to say? Every pentacle has a position, or every planet has a pentacle that has an 8-sided figure in it. So it's possible for me to do this. I'm crossing with my point here, my pencil here, along this arc, and drawing the same kind of shape, this sort of ogival arch. And what this means is that a line drawn from this point of intersection through the center of the circle, like this, is automatically going to be 1/2 of this 90-degree angle. So I know that this angle here is 45 degrees and this angle here is 45 degrees, because this as a whole is 90 degrees. And I can do this in both directions. And obviously, the more carefully I place the point of my compass and the pencil of my compass, the more accurate the result is that I will get. And I'm being a little bit sloppy here because I want to get on to the next part of this proof. But here we go. I have divided this circle up in the center into 8 equal segments, each of which are 45-degree angles, which means that this was trying not to move my piece of paper very much so that everything would stay in camera. And I have made a little bit of a mistake here. Sorry about that. So there we go, 8-sided figure, stop sign, ta-da. I'm going to turn this around so you can see what I'm doing. Here are the 8 emblems that go at the ends of the arms of the pentacle of Mercury. Here are the 4 symbols that are repeated twice in the pentacle of the moon. Here are the 8 symbols associated with Venus. Here are the 8 symbols associated with Jupiter. And we can go through exactly the same process on a smaller scale, because geometry is always true, right? Because it's about proportion, not scale, right? We're not measuring this, we are scaling this. So if I draw, and this is where I wish I really had a pencil. Here we go. Here's a pencil. There's my 90-degree line, or there's my line through the center. I can then go through this same process for the pentacle of Mercury. And I'm going to get a crossing position over here in the text that I pre-wrote, and my compass has slipped a little bit here. This is the trouble with buying cheap equipment, is that sometimes your equipment betrays you. But here's my 90-degree angle. I will then want to subdivide each of these angles. And I do that again by measuring off from the center of the angle a known distance, which is the arc, which has a specific radius, and doing this twice, each in one direction, like so, again using my pencil. It's sometimes helpful to put your pencil point on one of the spots and then realign. See, that's not very helpful because something like that. And then in the other direction here, 1, 2, find the angle bisector. Gosh, I hope this is all turning out on camera. Now, the nature of each of the pentacles is that they're supposed to have a sort of rim or ribbon around the inside of the main circle, and the psalm text or the magical text gets written there, and then there's usually a gap, and then the arms of the cross come out a certain distance, and the 8 arms come out a certain distance, which means that I can now come in here and I can say, okay, the arms of my pentacle are going to be this length. And starting from the top, first there's this sort of 4-line construction like that. And then there's this sort of U shape with a triangle coming out of it. And then there's this circle with a weird cross through it like that. And then there's a circle with a weird cross on the inside of it like that. And then there's this U shape here with a horizontal line and this pointing out U shape. I'm here. And then there's a box with a line inside of it. And then there's a figure 8 with a Mercury head on top of it. And finally, there's a sort of cross with an arm underneath it, and then the lot of fortune symbol inside of it. And here's the outer ring here, and here's the outermost ring for the ribbon. And I had and I smeared the ink. So it's not such a great pentacle after all. But there, at least in general outline, is pentacle of Mercury number 3. And you can follow the same process for pentacle number 6 of the moon, and pentacle of Venus number 1, and one of, I think it's the number 4 pentacle of Jupiter is also one of these 8-spoked wheels. So if you know the mathematical geometric procedure, which we did on the previous page for octagons, that same process can be used to develop each of the individual pentacles, and you will get better results and better looking results. Additionally, you can begin to think of these as emblems of Mercury, and that each of the arms of each pentacle has a set of emblems that are associated with that planet. So here are Jupiters, and here are Venuses, and here are the moons. I hope that makes sense. So here's the pentacle that we just did, which I smudged with my eraser. We've got 8 characters of Mercury, sort of 4 horizontal lines, and then sort of a triangular face with upturned arms, a circle intersected by a cross inside of a circle, sort of downward arc, upward arc, and a horizontal line, a bar inside of a box, a Mercury symbol, and sort of another upraised hands with the emblem from astrology that's used to mark the lot of fortune. So those ends get transferred here. Remember that all 4 of these pentacles are pentacles based on 8 spokes. So if you know how to produce an 8-pointed figure, all 4 of these, pentacle number 6 of the moon and pentacle number 1 of Venus and the wheel of Jupiter, all of these pentacles are produced using exactly the same process, and we're simply doing that process and then adding a ring for the ribbon or where the psalm verse is going to go. And then maybe to help regularize it, we can put some additional concentric circles in, as I've done here and as I've left here. And that helps identify where your minifigures at the ends of the arm go. And that helps memorize or helps compress or store the pentacle for more easily, what am I trying to say? For easier recollection.